Welcome back to another episode of the Work It podcast. I'm Gerald.
And I'm Nat. And Gerald, I have a question for you.
Oh, shoot.
Have you ever felt, stuck in your career and thought, maybe I might want to go back to school?
You know what? Actually, I did think about doing my master's before. That was maybe about 4 years into the working life.
Right.
Because everybody was doing it.
Mm.
Everyone around me was trying to do a master's to kind of level up. And I thought okay, maybe it's time to do that. But I chickened out after that. I went through the whole process, but I just could not follow through.
Wow. Do you have any regrets with not taking your master's?
I think no.
Okay. Because that's kind of what I'm hearing from a lot of people
Really?
as well. Like some of my friends who have thought about masters in the past, but then decided not to go for it, don't really regret it.
I see.
But it's the ones who I've met or who have told me that they have gone for masters that they end up telling me I don't know if this actually had any impact on my career or if I would have known in the first place. So, going back to school, you feel like you're doing something productive, you're upgrading, upskilling and all that, but maybe sometimes, it doesn't open as many doors as it closes for you.
Yeah, I think there is this perception that having an extra piece of certification, a higher level one, could take your career higher. But is that really, really true? So I think today the question that we want to tackle on this episode is really, does having a postgraduate degree really help you for your career? To help us with this question, we are so happy to have Randstad Singapore's Associate Director, Bernie Chng. She's from recruitment and she's going to bring to us all the recruitment stories around this postgraduate situation. So welcome to the show, Bernie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here. So I guess I want to start off with an easy question.
Okay.
Right? Is there a situation in which someone with a master's would be passed over for a role in favor of someone who doesn't have a master's degree?
That is a great question, and the direct answer is yes.
Okay.
There would be. In fact, I've been in recruitment for over 13 years now, and I have seen that happen, where employers do value the actual work experience more than the qualifications and education qualifications that they have.
But that's assuming that people take a master's in lieu of gaining work experience, right? So if someone was to say have both, a few years in the industry plus a master's degree, would they still find some doors closed to them, or is that kind of already a boon?
I wouldn't say the doors are closed, right? And if you're talking about two candidates with the identical CVs, identical years of work experience, and let's say the achievements that they've had and the accolades they've had in their career are similar, definitely someone with a master's degree has that additional qualification that the other CV does not have. So we're really talking about apple for apple here, right? Plus a master's certificate. But the reality is, a lot of times everyone has different work experiences and different achievements. So the probability of this scene happening is not very common, I would say.
Right.
So ultimately, it still goes down to work experiences. And master's degree is prevalent in certain industries and certain job types. But definitely, if someone is asking me, hey, will it benefit me? Whichever role I'm in, whichever industry I'm in, it would definitely get me above my peers. It's not guaranteed.
Okay, so we're going to dive into that role-specific and industry-specific stuff in a bit. But I think we want to get to the question that most people will want to hear about. Does a master's degree get you more pay?
No.
Okay.
Tell us a bit more about how come it's no. Because I think for a lot of us, we often think about it as go for it, then you can up your career, negotiate for more pay.
Yes.
Yeah, so
yes.
why is it so different from your side?
Look, I think, if I were to refine my answer a bit, it would be yes and no.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Because there's a lot of other variable factors to it. Where the candidate's working, what job type the candidate's working, what level they're working at, is the company sponsoring this MBA? Because chances are, if the company is sponsoring this individual for an MBA, there are internal development programs and pathways that they've already created for this person.
Okay.
The ROI needs to be there. They're not
Right.
investing in a master's degree for this employee just because they've worked a certain level. There's definitely a pathway for them after. So there's a lot of variables considered, which is why it's yes and no. The way the reason why I gave a no initially is because it shouldn't be expected. It's not a guarantee. And if people are going to pursue their master's degree on the intention that, hey, this will definitely guarantee me a higher salary or better opportunity after, that's something that they need to reconsider. So it's important to know what you're in it for before investing that cost into your finances as well.
Right. And I see what you mean, because I know a fair number of people who have gotten an MBA. And a lot of these people who gotten MBAs tend to say that the worth of it is not in the paper at the end of the day. It's in the people that you meet in the pursuit of the MBA, or the doors that it opens to people who have completed that same MBA before. So is that something that you see outside of just this one specific postgraduate education?
Yes, no, that's a great point you've brought up. Definitely the networking is one that a lot of people value. A lot of people walk out of it feeling that, hey, I've met so many great people in this course, and these these people that and these relationships that they've created through school, which is not too dissimilar to what we all went through during our school days. That bond that stays. Right? And as you go about your working life, your career, you always have this group of people to fall back on. And the importance of having this group of individuals is everyone, in a way, it's all like-minded, right? They're all there for progressive learning, to pursue something together. So yes, the networking is definitely, I would say, top 3 of why normally people might choose to go for a master's degree.
Okay, but it's not... Obviously, people don't take a master's degree just as a social exercise.
No, yes.
Right. So are there any tangible benefits beyond the people that you meet there? Because I feel like I could meet these same people at the workplace.
Of course, if you're asking people apply and spend 5-figure sums to obtain a postgraduate / MBA just for networking, no, they don't.
Yeah, it's
right?
an expensive
they don't.
friendship.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. It's an expensive friendship.
Okay.
But of all the people I've spoken to, because I did speak with a lot of candidates and my own friends, right, that have obtained the MBA, it's not something they expected as they went into it, but that's what they took out of it. That's why I said it's top 3.
Okay.
When I said what do you gain the most out of your MBA, and actually one of the top 3 answers is always the networking, the friendships that I've created. Let's say, if you have something that crops up at work, or a situation that you feel, hey, having some external advice might be helpful. That's where they tap on their network, right? Or let's say they needed to hire an amazing chief digital officer into their organization. Who do they tap on? Of course, they'll tap on
someone they know.
Yes, someone they know. And that usually is in that group chat of, on WhatsApp.
It's like you will just reach out on a WhatsApp and say, guys, I know there's this vacancy. Do you know anybody? And it could be the people in the group chat, or it could be somebody they know from the outside as well. So that's how the networking really brings everything together.
It can even be, let's say, hey, I just faced this situation at work. How does your company tackle such issues, tackle such challenges? I would love to hear the best practice from all your other organizations. There's a lot of learning that continues outside of the course.
It's like ongoing learning support. After you completed the program, you still have a group of people that you can get advice from, so that you can improve your work performance. So, okay, maybe there's some benefit, right? Other than money, you get some ongoing career support in that sense.
But I'm thinking, for me, are there certain industries or maybe certain roles in which furthering your degree would actually benefit you much more in your career than in other industries or roles?
A few industries would be more of the technical ones, such as healthcare life sciences,
Right.
where perhaps you need a master's in medicine or master's in psychology to really be credible in the work that you do. So this would be one industry. Another would be banking and financial services. ESG is another upcoming industry that is pretty hot. It's more so in the US. I think it's slowly trickling down to Asia Pacific. So ESG is such a new topic, right? And in fact, our government has given some investments into the learning for this course of line of business. And ESG is so new that how do we get work experience out of it? there's not a lot of corporations that would offer such experiences, such roles. And even when we see roles that are advertised in ESG, they do call for some sort of experience or knowledge.
Right.
And that's when a qualification would really help to
Yeah.
ascertain that, hey, you know, this person knows what they're doing, knows what they're speaking, they've learned specifically this topic. Let's give this a shot.
I think what Bernie is saying here is the signaling effect that comes from having a higher certification in a specific area that maybe, you know, is emerging. So it really shows, because you may not have the work experiences, so having that piece of paper that shows that you have studied something, you covered something along those lines, it really gives maybe the employers more incentive to call you up for the interview, to speak to you, because you seem to have studied something about it. So it's like a signaling effect a bit. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking there was this one point in time, you know, in the industry where one of the hottest jobs on the market was a product manager role, right? In the tech scene, a lot of product managers were coming up, but you would often see that a lot of these product managers did not have master's degrees because there was no education in becoming a product manager. You could do computer science, but that's software engineering.
Yeah.
That's not product management. You could do business, but that is more to the business aspect rather than the product itself.
I feel like this is where the conversation kind of swings towards more bite-sized learning certifications. I mean, you mentioned, Bernie, you had some experiences about that. You advocate for that as well. Tell us more about that bite-sized part.
In terms of bite-sized learning, actually that is something, you're right, I strongly advocate for it, and I really do urge people who have not used their Skills Future credits to really look into this, because there are some amazing courses that you can take on Skills Future. One particular one that I really feel is quite beneficial for people who are, number one, they do not have the time to do a full 2-year master's course. Number two, they do not have the financial means to do a full master's course, because these can range, depending on the university that you are looking at, these can range from 20,000 all the way to 80,000.
80,000.
80,000.
That's a steep
very steep price.
Yeah.
And again, the ROI is not guaranteed if you're only in it to get a better pay or better compensation,
or to make friends.
So what I really advocate for are these smaller courses where you can kind of try before you buy. You know, if you're going for a full-fledged master's course, try it first. That's what I always feel, especially if financially it's going to be a strain, right? You're willing to make that investment, but you don't have 6-figure sums lying around, right? You want to be sure of what you are actually investing in. For example, Singapore Management University, SMU, they have a whole list of 2-3 day courses, and these are actually really good courses that would help, even if you don't intend to pursue a master's.
I wonder if this is something like when you visit an ice cream shop, right? Instead of buying a full tub of, or just 1 cup of cookies and cream, you want to try it first and see how it compares to like butterscotch and caramel or something. Are you able to get enough samples that you can kind of almost get educated as much as someone who takes a master's, or will they stop you at, I'm sorry, 2 flavors only?
I love that analogy. No, they will not stop you at 2 flavors only.
Cool.
I love that actually. This particular one at SMU, after you complete, I believe it was 6 courses, you get an accreditation that you can put on your LinkedIn. And the signaling effect that it shows to employers is you have that never stop learning mindset. You are constantly looking to upskill yourself. And that is especially important in today's world because technology is catching up with us so quickly. I'll tell you, for example, in my day-to-day job, it's so different now compared to, let's say, even just 5 years ago. We're constantly having to adopt AI into our role, constantly using Gemini to help us improve the processes that we have internally. And as the world catches up so quickly, employers are also looking out for candidates and employees that are also constantly looking to self-develop, have that never stop learning agility, because the world's going to look very different 5 years from now as well, from a corporate setting point of view.
I just want to jump in here because that it kind of makes it feel like a master's degree is then no longer the typical route someone would go for, further education. Because then they could either use ChatGPT to get the answers that they want, Gemini to kind of learn more about different job functions or the job that they do, or they could go with this bite-sized learning where they don't have to commit so much. So is it that master's degrees are slowly phasing out in importance in the job market, or what's happening to them right now?
I would not say that.
Okay.
I do believe master's degree still has their importance
Right.
in the learning journey. They also hold a certain flair, right, that you would not get from bite-sized learnings.
Sure. There's a prestige.
Yeah, there is a prestige.
Okay.
You know, I have a friend. He's someone that went to obtain a master's degree from National University of Singapore. He's currently working for very big brands. Very big brands in tech and FMCG, and holding quite a senior role as well. So he definitely feels it has benefited him in terms of opening up new doors internally in the corporate world. And he always said to me as well, going for a master's degree, you have to be quite sure of the educational institute that you are obtaining it from and the type of degree that you are going for. So it wouldn't be obsolete if, that's what we're trying to ask here. There would definitely still be that flair, and it will always be part of the learning journey. But the important question for everyone to know is, why am I doing it?
Right.
What am I in this for? Because if the sole purpose is really, after this master's degree, I will get a better paying job, or I will get the opportunity that I want to get, unfortunately, I'm sorry to be the wet blanket here, it's not guaranteed.
Right.
It would give you a stepping stone. It would give you a bit of an edge. But ultimately, your work experience, your credentials, your achievements, everything on that would still count more than the qualification. I'll give you, for example, right? If someone were to interview for a role in CNA,
Right.
and you have someone with not too relevant work experience but has a master's degree, and someone from, you can call it the perfect CV, right? Media, broadcast, but maybe he or she only has a diploma. Which candidate would CNA pick?
Oh, no. I would hope it's the guy with the diploma, because I have a diploma. So.
Yes, exactly. So ultimately, the work experience still counts.
But having said that, right, if today we were to think about someone who's like maybe an individual who's very anxious about their future, and then they want to do something for themselves, right? And they were to ask you, like, should I take a master's? And what type of advice or what type of questions would you ask this person?
Yeah, let's say me.
Yeah.
7-ish years in the industry, slowly going up the ranks, and then thinking like, do I have to get a master's right now to get a hit, or should I continue working?
That is probably a question you have to ask your company.
Okay.
Because if your company values that education, then that is a conversation you should be having with your company. Hey, I'm going to invest my money
True.
to upskill, right? And this is something that I would love to do. But of course, I want to be quite upfront that I am doing this hoping that this would get me an increment on my salary, my bonuses, etc. Or this gives me another progression path into this other category or this other unit that I'm very interested in. Then that's a conversation you need to have with your company.
Right.
Because you are in a unique position where you're employed, but you are still wanting to learn more, right? And this is a great situation to be in. So speaking to your company, asking very specific questions, would this help me? Because if the answer is no, then you probably would have a different mindset again on whether you want to pursue your master's.
Right.
Right?
So making sure that the people who would be looking at this master's put value in the master's in the same way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And if they don't, and if they can't guarantee you those things, the desire for the learning to be better at what you do should still exist, and you just look at different forms of picking up those skill sets. I know someone who really went through a very unconventional education route, didn't have his through the N-level route, ITE route, and then didn't have a degree, right? Only had a private diploma, right? But this guy now, he's found a way to work towards, he completed his master's without a degree, and he's doing his PhD now.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, I know this guy. So
Wow.
it's like, I think the lack of support from the company should not be a deterrent, right? It should encourage you to find different ways to forge your path towards learning. And that's why the bite-sized part becomes so easy, because it sort of makes learning so much more accessible rather than having it bundled to this big program and a heavy cost. One of the things that I was thinking about when I had the offer to do the masters, right? I really had to be very honest with myself.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And then earlier on, I was sharing that it was more for the FOMO, like fear of missing out, because everybody was doing it. And then I started to count the opportunity cost. If I had to spend so much amount of time outside of work on the weekend to study, I'm missing out on relationships. I'm missing out on my volunteer work. I'm missing out on quite a lot of other things that I felt was important to me, right? And suddenly that masters didn't seem so important anymore.
Right.
And that was what made me kind of stop. And looking back, I really feel like I think it's so important, because the cost and the time commitment so much. The opportunity cost needs to be counted.
Yeah, that's so true actually, because I have a very close friend. Her husband is still working and is currently pursuing a master's degree at NUS. And of course, with that, there comes a lot of sacrifice on family time, commitment, having CCAs as well during weekends. Actually, even in the master's program, you still have CCAs. That was new to me, right? There are outside of school commitments as well that you have to do when you're pursuing a master's program. So you're absolutely right. It's the sacrifice on time that people, I guess, sometimes forget, because yes, the master's degree is there, but bear in mind you are working and also pursuing an education at the same time. Even if, let's say, you are not employed, you are still investing a lot of time studying. It was a full-time job for all of us back when we were schooling, right? So it's a lot of sacrifices. And in fact, this same friend also shared with me that one of their friends actually pivoted their career into consulting right after getting the master's degree. There is definitely value in having a master's, for sure. It just depends again on the job that you're trying to go towards, and ensuring that the employer does value those credentials as well.
We've been talking about people who are pursuing a master's while still working. But for those who decide to take a break completely, quit their job or take a sabbatical to pursue further education, is this something that they have to consider, that they will have a couple of years at least where they are not keeping up with the current trends in the industry, in the job, that they might become a little bit outdated if they were to go back to work?
This depends on the level that they're at.
Sure.
So for people that are in mid-careers, they just need to weigh out their options, right? Because another thing that we need to think about is finances. Are you ready to not be earning an income for the next 2 years? Because that can cause a strain, especially if you have kids. I don't know about you both, but I have 2 kids. I can never imagine, even if I'm not employed, that I have the investment and finances to actually take a 2-year break to pursue my master's degree. My advice is never to run away from something, right? Always go into investment and education with the right mindset. This is why I want to go into this. It's for my own self-learning. It is to potentially open up new doors in the future. It is to potentially get me a role in consulting, or a position that is liaising more with C-suites.
One thing that you said that really jumped out at me was, don't run away from something, right? You should make sure that in the pursuit of these, you are chasing opportunities, not running away from challenges.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a good note to end the show on. Thank you so much for joining us, Bernie.
No problem. Yep. Thank you for having me.
Hello and welcome back to the Ask Work It segment of the podcast. If you have a question that you're struggling with, or you don't know who to confide in, write into us, leave a comment wherever you're listening from, and we will try our best to help. Today's question, Gerald, was sent in by Anxious Auntie.
Anxious?
Anxious, very anxious.
Tell me more.
She is currently employed, but was invited for an interview by the senior leader of another company. The interview went really well. Lots of positive signals, very encouraging vibes. Unfortunately, after the interview, things took a turn.
Okay.
This is confounding, okay? The hiring leader mentioned that they were personally connected to someone at Anxious Auntie's current workplace and wanted to do things properly.
What does do things properly mean, right?
What does that even mean, right?
Okay.
And then instead of continuing informal chats, the process was handed over to HR for a formal interview. But suddenly, silence.
Okay. She was kind of ghosted.
Yeah, ghosted a little bit. No follow-up, no replies from the hiring company. What happened here? So she was getting stressed out because immediately after this chain of events, the listener, Anxious Auntie, noticed a clear change in attitude from her boss at work. Now she's worried. Is it that somebody spoke to somebody? Did someone mention the interview to her boss? And what should she do next?
Wow. So two situations here, right?
Yeah.
The first one is the ghosting. What was the reason for that? And what does really doing things properly, what does it mean?
Yeah.
And then of course the second point here is what to do about the boss,
Yeah.
the current employer, current supervisor who seems to have a change of attitude towards her. Could it be related to the interview or not? We don't really know for sure, right?
Yeah. So which one should we tackle first?
Yeah, maybe we can talk about the ghosting one because I think that's something that very often happens. I'm sure you have heard of people who went for interviews and then they don't get back any follow-ups from there.
Yeah.
What do you think is happening there usually?
I mean, I would imagine that they just decided to go an entirely different direction because I've had interview experiences myself where I felt things were going really well. You know, it was almost like I was talking to the interviewer like I've known them for years. Like we were old friends just reconnecting. And
Wow.
It was a formality to go through the interview, but like we have to do this for process. And then I never hear back from them.
Oh,
So
okay.
I imagine it's because they speak to me and they're like, I like him, but like we're going in a different direction.
And that's really the point of the interview, right? But for Anxious Auntie, I think she didn't attend an interview, right? She attended like a
It
chat.
was an informal chat.
Informal chat. Sometimes the informal chats are just a sussing opportunity to just have a chat to find out how you are, whether you'll be interested, where are you at your career now. It may not actually lead to a job interview because maybe there isn't the headcount or the budget to actually have that person. And this informal chat took place with the business leader, not the HR person. So usually sometimes business leaders, they want to send their feelers out there, find the right people, assess the motivations, and then they will bring back the information to HR and say, look, can you can we hire somebody? Do we have the money to hire somebody? So I'm suspecting somewhere along that line that the process didn't quite flow through.
Right.
So maybe there wasn't money.
The business leader might have jumped the gun a little bit and
sounds
offered
like
something they didn't have to offer.
Sounds like the anxious boss.
Anxious boss, not anxious auntie. Okay, so but you know, things happen as they are. Is there something the anxious auntie can do to kind of salvage the situation a little? Because it seems like now she is in a dire position.
Yes,
right?
yes. I'm sure that the conversation really helped her as well to see maybe feel very, very hopeful about something new. So if today there's still that connection with the hiring manager or even the business leader, right? I think anxious auntie can reach out. Can reach out and find out like, hey, is there any follow up from this?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is this still something that we should be talking about? Or has things changed so that, you can really find closure?
Get some clarity. So let's say she's no longer interested in the role, which, rightfully for her, she doesn't get the right vibes from them because of what's been happening. And she decides to stay in her company, but she still has this boss whose attitudes have changed towards her to deal with. Is there something that she can do at work to kind of fix this situation?
We don't know whether the boss really knows about this interview in the first place. It's just a guess, right?
Yeah.
So I think what anxious auntie could do is really just to double down on the work. Right, double down on the work, get some quick wins to showcase perhaps the commitment to the company, so that kind of move from this situation if really the boss know lah, right? And also, of course, if things get really difficult, maybe seek clarity, sit down with your boss and discuss through like how come the attitude, the working relationship is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think it's good to clarify that if today there's a need to lah.
Right.
But if you're jumping the gun and wanting to talk to the boss about, are you treating me differently because you know I went for interview? I think maybe not.
Don't out yourself, right?
Yeah, don't out yourself that way.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my suggestion. But what would you do?
Well, I mean, we don't know exactly why, like you said, this boss is acting differently. It could be something in their personal life. Could be entirely unrelated to anxious auntie.
True.
I mean, she is feeling pretty anxious, so I can understand her jumping to conclusions. But you never know. You could just ask, "Hey, everything okay?" Kind of try to speak to other people. Have you been experiencing the same level of friction with this boss? And just make sure that it's you before you jump to conclusions that it is you that they're pissed off with, right?
Yes. I also feel that for anxious auntie, not feeling guilty about having gone for a job interview, or a chat, right? It shouldn't make anxious auntie feel like she did something wrong.
Yes.
I think people at workplaces these days they get called up for all sorts of things. A phone call from recruiter and so on and so forth. And the industries that are not big, sometimes your competitors called you. So it's not wrong to keep a lookout, right?
Yeah. And anyway, any boss that is going to be triggered this bad by you looking for greener pastures is not a boss that has your best interests at heart. So as much as it's not the best advice to give, maybe you shouldn't be looking to have much longer of a future with this company, right?
If the boss is really so close-minded to say that, oh, you are working for me, you cannot go for interviews, cannot be exploring opportunity elsewhere. I think this goes totally the opposite of what we call a career development, right? Like
it's career stagnation.
Yeah, it's stagnation because you are not allowed to explore. You're not allowed to be curious about what's happening outside. And in this day and age, right, which company can guarantee you your employment?
Yeah. Because when it comes to it, if they have to let you go, they're going to let you go.
Exactly. So don't feel guilty, right?
So if, like anxious auntie, you have a work-related dilemma, why not write to us? We are at cnapodcast@mediacorp.com.sg.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Nat. Don't let anxiety write your story. You still get to decide what your next career move is.